on Monday, the US and UK carried out fresh round of strikes on Houthi sites in Yemen. The Pentagon has said that it hit 8 targets, including an underground storage site and Houthi missile and surveillance capability as well. This is the second joint operation with the UK after joint strikes were carried out last on 11th of January against the Iran-backed group over its targeting of the Red Sea shipping. Now, the joint statement says that the strikes were carried out with support from Australia, Bahrain, Canada and the Netherlands as well. Yet, the Houthis remain undeterred and continue to target ships in the Red Sea, which they claim are Israeli or Israeli-bound. The Houthis, who control parts of Yemen, have said that their attacks are in solidarity with Palestinians as Israel is continuing to strike Gaza. Interestingly, on Monday, the Houthis also claimed to have attacked an American military cargo ship named Ocean Jazz in the Gulf of Aden. But the White House and Pentagon have denied such an assault, and they've said that this did not happen. Also, Britain's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has said in a statement that Britain is planning to announce new sanctions in the coming days, targeting Houthi financing of attacks on shipping that's in the Red Sea. Now, the conflict has deepened the Red Sea crisis overall, and the attacks have disrupted global shipping as well. The Red Sea crisis is directly responsible for cargo shipping delays and even global price increases. Shipping companies have started diverging their vessels. The increase in ship divergence has increased fuel and labor costs while decreasing the average amount of cargo traffic reaching its own destination. And with that, let me also tell you what the Pentagon had to say soon after the strikes were conducted. The Pentagon went on to release a statement saying that our aim remains to de-escalate tensions and restore stability in the Red Sea. We reiterate our warning to Houthi leadership. We will not hesitate to defend lives and the free flow of commerce in one of the world's most critical waterways in the face of continued threats. Well, that was the statement coming in from the US Army. Remember, they do not want any disruptions to global shipping. On that note, let me also bring you reactions from the UK. This is what UK's Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and its Foreign Minister David Cameron had to say.
We are going to use the most effective means at our disposal to cut off the Houthis' financial resources where they are used to fund these attacks. We are working closely with the United States on this and plan to announce new sanction measures in the coming days. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At my order overnight, the RAF engaged in a second wave of strikes against Houthi military targets in Yemen. We did so because we continue to see, including in intelligence, an ongoing and imminent threat from the Houthis to UK commercial and military vessels and to those of our partners in the Red Sea and wider region. And as with the first wave, the strikes were limited to carefully selected targets with maximum care taken to protect civilian lives.
What the Houthis are doing is unacceptable, it's illegal, and it's threatening the freedom of navigation. That's why we've taken the action. Alongside that action is a whole set of measures we'll be taking, including sanctions and other pressure to put on the Houthis, combined, of course, with the action the Royal Navy is taking with others in the Red Sea. Let's be absolutely clear, we have no quarrel with the Yemeni people. Indeed, our aid feeds over 100,000 Yemenis every month, using the sea lane, delivering that aid, which is precisely the sea lane that the Houthis are trying to close. But of course, in Gaza, we want to see the swiftest possible end to that conflict. Indeed, we have called for an immediate humanitarian pause so we can get aid in, we can get hostages out, and we want that pause to turn into a sustainable, permanent ceasefire without a return to further fighting. That's the plan that we'll be putting forward this week as I travel to the region.
All right, so where is the Red Sea crisis headed, and how is this impacting not just the global economy, but also the geopolitics of the region? Let's try and get in a sense of perspective. And for that, let me introduce my guest today. I'm joined in by Jessica Jones, who's the Deputy Executive Director of the National Security Institute. Many thanks to you, Jessica, for joining in on CNN News 18 Global. Now, I want to know from you, what do you think and how do you assess the West's stance towards the Houthis and especially the Biden administration's emerging strategy?
I think, what we see is the Biden administration trying to walk a fine line between obviously responding to the attacks in the Red Sea. We had an ultimatum with our allies issued earlier this month. This, as you point out, is the second joint airstrike with the UK. And we're hoping to decrease the attacks, but at the same time, we're trying to, as the Pentagon announced, continue stability in the region, not escalate tensions, not increase conflict further in the region. So it's a fine line that unfortunately is probably too fine to walk. And so we're not really seeing a response to our joint airstrikes. We're not seeing a decrease in attacks. In this case, we don't see any signal or sign from the Houthis that they're going to back down when it comes to their attacks in the Red Sea.
Several military experts are talking about how the US especially is trying to toe the middle ground. They want to cripple the Houthis, but at the same time, there's also a conscious effort to not destroy the Houthi fighters and the commandos. What do you make of this middle ground? Is it helping the current scenario?
I think, the Biden administration is really hoping, as you announced, that they were able to really practically degrade and destroy their missile launch and deployment capabilities in this latest airstrike, because they're seeing that deterrence isn't working. So I think what they're trying to do is actually on the ground impact the Houthis' ability to launch these attacks and see a decrease. And hopefully there's enough time between now and a ceasefire where the Houthis will maybe cease their attacks.
All right. Also, I want to know from you, how do you gauge Iran's role, and also the fact that Western intelligence inputs have still not been able to gauge the kind of arsenal that Iran is supplying to the Houthis. Is it not time for US and its Western allies, or the coalition forces, so to say, to sort of gauge how intimidating is this arsenal and to understand their enemy better?
I mean, you're exactly right. I think the hard part right now, why we're not seeing a decrease in these attacks, is that the US right now is really only, targeting the Houthis when we know that it's Iran that's supplying, backing, and advising the Houthis. And so we're not, setting our focus there because, again, we're worried about increasing conflict in the region. But until we focus on Iran, we're not going to see a decrease. I think there was just news reports earlier today about U.S. talking to China to increase Chinese pressure on Iran because our pressure isn't getting anywhere. And so until we really set our focus on Iran and their intentions, and I don't think we're going to see a decrease in Houthi attacks.
All right, Jessica, I'm in fact going to request you to continue staying with us because there's a lot that we want to talk about that also is to do with global shipping getting disrupted and how that's impacting our lives. But for now, let me also play out the reaction that has come in from Yemen. As expected, they have condemned the latest round of US and British strikes targeting the Houthi underground storage site as well. Let's also listen in to the reactions.
We will not be afraid of the American Zionist airstrikes. We are only afraid of God. We are steadfast for generations to come. These strikes do not scare us and will not turn a hair on our heads. We are steadfast and support Palestine from within our hearts. The US airstrikes are like a spray of water for a thirsty person. I swear it will not scare us or turn a hair on our heads. They will see nothing from us but a burning fire and flames, angry and hateful hearts. In response to the destruction of Gaza and the killing of innocent people, they will see anger, burning fire and flames. God is witness to our word.
And with that, let me also give you a bird's eye view of what the entire region looks like and where these attacks have been happening. Remember, this is the entire shipping lane that we are talking about, and that is the Red Sea shipping lane. And all the ships have to go through Bab el-Mandeb Strait. There are attacks happening at this strait also, including this entire shipping lane of the Red Sea. And those attacks are also happening at the Gulf of Aden. How is this impacting the current shipping? Well, let me tell you, ships have to now avoid this entire route. They have to go down to the tip of South Africa, and that is where the Cape of Good Hope is, and that is in fact costing ships approximately $3 million more. That also leads to increased shipping costs, increased fuel costs for them. But that is where things stand as of now. Let me also break down for you how the Red Sea crisis is now impacting trade overall. The ships are rerouting to the tip of Africa, as I was telling you, that is the Cape of Good Hope. There's also been a significant increase in shipping and fuel costs, At the same time, the shipping cost has jumped from $1,500 up to $4,000. That's massive. Now, the crude prices have already risen by 4%. At the same time, there's been a 1.3% of decline in world trade. Well, those are figures of December 2023. And with that, let's quickly go back to Jessica, who continues to stay with me. Jessica, let's have a word on global shipping, which is being disrupted. Remember, it was only from 2022 that we began to see this easing of global supply chains after the pandemic began to recede. But how do you see this now impacting global trade, global economy, and the lives of the common man?
I mean, as you pointed out, this is one of the busiest shipping transit lanes in the world. To cross the Suez Canal, you have to go through the Red Sea. And you already see over a dozen major shipping companies refuse to go through the Red Sea. She pointed out now going down through around the southernmost tip of Africa, which for some transit routes will increase time 30 to 50%. And so you're going to see both short and long term. Your statistics are from December. I think you're going to see, larger decreases to global trade as time wears on, as the attacks continue, as the only ships that are going to cross the Red Sea are really going to be those with low value cargo and those willing to take the risk of an attack, which is certainly not going to be that many ships.
All right, there were wars between Iraq and Iran in the sea as well between 1988 and 89. We've seen similar piracy attacks happen in the Indian Ocean as well. Do you think that the presence of warships at the moment can not just avert such attacks, but also induce greater confidence in these shipping vessels?
I think to date, we have not seen that borne out. The attacks continue. Vessels are being rerouted. I think, all signals from the Houthis are that they're going to continue, especially if they think ships are U.S. or Western ships. So I don't think warships are having quite the deterrent effect they might have had previously.
All right. Many thanks to you, Jessica, for joining in with those precious insights. Thoroughly appreciate your presence.